But first, we're going to talk to Josh in North Carolina. Josh, you're live with Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm caffeinated as well, and I'm so thrilled to be on the show. I'm so thrilled to talk to you.
Good. Well, I'm going to do my best because I am sleepy and I know that we don't have a whole lot of time, but talking about grief and talking about dealing with that kind of stuff when you don't believe, I think is incredibly important. I think we need to talk about it. So I want to listen. Why don't you tell me about what happened?
Absolutely. So I'm a recent deconvert over the last year or so, and in no small part thanks to you and V and
Yay.
other folks like Paula, Gia, and Matt. Couldn't thank you guys more for that. But so recently experienced some grief-inducing events. Like, for example, I had a relationship end, a long-term relationship, and it had nothing to do with my deconversion, but I find myself sort of in the aftermath of this, experiencing that grief and that regret, and being tempted to go back to that mindset of, God's got this. And it's such a comforting thought to have, right? It's helpful to get through that grief. And yet I'm pulled in the other direction with my disbelief in a God. So I wanted to kind of bring that up as a conversation and pick your brain on it.
Absolutely. This is something that has impacted me personally, very, very personally. And kind of the way that I thought about it, and the way I think a lot of people think about it, is that their future, their compatibility is like a puzzle piece. And that there's somebody out there that fits all your edges. And when you find that person that fits, that's the one who's there for you. And that's going to be your soulmate. And then you can just live a happy life from then on. And I found that comforting because anytime something didn't work out, I thought to myself, well, that just wasn't my soulmate. But there's a dark side to it too. And the dark side of it is that there are people who think that, a relationship ending could be the loss of the only person that they're actually compatible with. And that is awful. The fact is, and I'm stealing whole cloth from Tim Minchin here, is how many people are there in the world? 7 billion?
More or less.
All right. So let's say, Josh, you are 1 in a million. And that means that there are 7,000 other people exactly like you.
Absolutely.
That I've actually took comfort eventually in the fact that I'm just not special. And the not specialness of it took a lot of the pressure off me. But then it left me with, well, what do I do about relationships, right? Like now I'm just kind of a little more bummed, but if I'm not special, no one else is. But what about relationships? And what about this, man? What if what makes a relationship unique is the shared experiences and the effort that both of you put in, right? Maybe you've never said, because I don't think I've ever said anything unique when it comes to romance. I think all the things have already been said. We've been recycling them forever. But that date on that day, going to that place, listening to that song, dancing to that song, or those private moments in aggregate create something that will never be replicated. It is unique and special in all the universe because it's never going to happen exactly that way again. And that's something that you created with that other person. And if you went through a breakup, you can and will get the chance to do that again. You have the opportunity to be fulfilled and to seek that fulfillment. And I feel like that uniquely is more hopeful than a religious viewpoint that you're somehow a special puzzle piece. I find it more heartening to recognize that the work that I put into a relationship is what makes it special. Not that I just get to fit in and then stop trying, but the act of trying and continually trying is what makes it beautiful.
Thank you for saying that. That really relates to me on a deep level. And I think I have two things to say to that quickly, because I know you wanted to get to one more caller.
Yeah.
Just being in a more skeptical mindset after this deconversion I went through has also helped me in some ways to process that grief. And I realized that before I had this mindset where I just couldn't imagine myself with any other person. You know what I mean? There's just no way I could be with anybody else. And I realized that's textbook definition argument from incredulity, right? My failure to imagine myself with anyone else doesn't mean that's true. And I took some comfort in realizing that.
I'm really glad. But also I do kind of want to validate before you go that grieving is what you should probably be doing right now. The loss is loss. It hurts. And you're entitled to your grief. And the fact that you need to grieve in order to grow needs to be recognized. And however long it takes is the right amount of time, because there is no set standard. And if you need, a year, 2 years, there are people who don't date again for 5 years, but when they're ready, they're ready. And in other cases, some people are ready to go date the next day. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. It just means that in that way, what is right for you is the right way to go. So don't limit yourself. Don't think that you need to stop grieving because of somebody else's expectations.
No doubt. And I think in the long run, we'll be better for having processed and faced that grief than written it away with a false hope in some kind of higher power. So I thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the conversation, and I hope I can sit down and have a beer with you someday.
Joshua, I would love that. And also let it light a fire under your butt. Don't become complacent. When you do find that love, when you do create that relationship, you don't just get to stop. It's something that both people need to keep working on. And when that stops, that's when the relationship dies. So, anyway,
right on.
Take care. Thank you for calling.
Thanks so much, Eric. Bye.
Bye. I know that there are a couple of people in the comments who are just like, there were special people in history. I absolutely agree. Their existence as people is not what made them special, though. What they did is why they're remembered. And what they did is what makes them special. And in the same way, what you do and build in those relationships is what makes that relationship special. You are not uniquely special in some cosmic way without trying. You are special in the actions that you take in the world and the people that you affect. That's what makes you special.